here since 1990, and we welcome a civic club, some of our, outside, people like the Mission Vaqueros and all of that here. It's a lot of things that we do. We help the community.
Hold our annual meeting. The meeting tonight is based on the agenda that you should have in front of you. We want to go through that agenda and cover it to its entirety. We're not taking any complaints, any type of requests for any problem that you have in Pine Village tonight. It's about voting these board members in, those that going to run to serve on the board to get some things corrected and get a board in place where we can continue to move forward and improving Pine Village and its neighborhood. I will turn the meeting over now to Mr. Nichols. Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. The secretary of the board is Deb Jacobson. I just want to make sure that we have established a quorum.
Yes, we have 177 for votes as of now.
And 1/10 is required to have a quorum, which would be about 51. So we're substantially above that. Now I'm going to turn this over to Roy Haley, the association's lawyer, to discuss rules of conduct and that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the annual meeting. My name is Roy Haley with the law firm of Butler Haley, and I also want to introduce Clint Brown, who is with the law firm of Butler Haley. I want to make it very, very clear from the get-go. Our client is the association. We don't represent any director. We don't represent any homeowner here in Pine Village North. Our client is the association. Our advice must be what is legally and properly correct for the association. Of course, we take direction from the board of directors, whoever may be sitting on the board of directors, but the association is our client. Just by way of background, I'm board certified in both residential and commercial real estate, but I limit my practice to representing property owners associations. Our firm represents approximately 600 associations in and around Harris County. Okay. I do want to say this. As you know, the association, is a nonprofit corporation in the state of Texas. It's a business. It's a nonprofit business, but it is a business. As such, this meeting must be conducted in a business-like fashion, and indeed, as you probably are all aware, you cannot disrupt this meeting. I have been, frankly, to hundreds and hundreds of annual meetings over the years, and the one thing that they typically have in common is a lot of emotion. I understand that. I think, frankly, why there's so much emotion is because we're talking about your homes. And people get very emotional when you talk about their homes. But, again, the only way to have a proper and good meeting is to follow rules of conduct, proper rules of procedure. And that's what we're going to be doing tonight for that reason. So let's go over these rules of conduct. You've got them all with your notice, so there's no surprise. You got them with the notice of the annual meeting. And the chair, who is Mr. Jim Nichols, will be chairing this meeting, and he is the one that is responsible for making sure that this meeting runs properly and according to procedure. So we are going to be strictly following the agenda for this annual meeting. Now, I do want to digress real quick and give the floor over to Clint Brown to explain what happened this afternoon in court.
Good evening. As Roy just mentioned, my name is Clint Brown, and I'm an associate over at Butler Haley. A couple hours ago, there was a court hearing over in the Harris County Judicial District Courthouse. It was a temporary restraining order instituted by Mr. Chris Mitchell and Miss Marie Preston. In that hearing, the court ordered the meeting to only address 4 points, and those 4 points have been the same throughout the course of setting up this annual meeting. I'm going to reiterate, these are the only 4 points that will be voted on this evening. The first, as by the court in the Harris County Judicial District Courthouse, vote on the proposed amendments to the bylaws of the association set forth in Exhibit A, attached here to and incorporated into this notice. You were provided with a copy of Exhibit A that had all of the amendments proposed. Number 2, vote on the removal of Chris Mitchell, Director, from the Board of Directors of the Association. Number 3, the election of directors. And the last point that will be voted on, and the only points that will be voted on, review 2012 Association Budget and Master Plan status. Once again, those are the only 4 points in the agenda that will be voted on this evening. Anything else in the agenda is procedural and is provided for in the bylaws.
Thank you, Ken. I might say, just as a point of clarification, we're not going to be voting on the budget. It's just required as part of the bylaws to present that. Let me finish the rules of conduct. Only the person recognized by the chair may speak. This means one person at a time. Please do not interrupt either the chair or the person that has been given the floor by the chair. In order to facilitate this process, once recognized, the person that has been given the floor by the chair should stand up, state their name, and then proceed with their comment or question. Again, don't speak unless and until the chair, Mr. Jim Nichols, has acknowledged you. If you speak otherwise, you will be out of order. Persons who have been given the floor will be given 3 minutes to state their business or question. 1 question per person. And then we will move on to the next person so as to ensure everyone will have an opportunity to speak. All of the persons will be given an opportunity to speak on a topic before the same person can speak again. Above all, please remember to be professional and courteous in your presentation. Persons that cannot adhere to the foregoing rules of conduct will be asked to leave the annual meeting. And at this time, I'll turn the floor back over to Mr. Davis.
Excuse me. We wanted to, before the chair took his position, we had a question pertaining to the attorney that just sat down.
Well, Greg, since I'm running the meeting and you're here and you'd like to have the floor, I'd be happy to allot you a couple of minutes if you want to ask a question for it. That's fine.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay. From the TRO that you said you have, we needed to define what, on our letters where it says the 4 items, one says election of directors. There were no nominees on that at that time. So what are you saying, that the nominees ballots that we have for these people will be recognized tonight? Yes or no? Because on the ballots that we received in the mail, there are no nominees. And if I'm not mistaken, with the TRO letters, is that it has to be on there as a part of our mail out so that we are aware of it.
And I'll address that. The election of directors is taking place tonight. Your bylaws require a nominating committee to put names into nomination to run for the board of directors. The nominating committee has put those names in, let me finish. The nominating committee has put those names into nomination, and those have been included on the ballot. However, if you want to have nominations from the floor, anybody else will be entitled that wants to run for the board. So we'll be taking nominations from the floor.
Just one last question. Who nominated the nominating committee? Because the board members in here, we're sitting here wondering, where did this nominating committee come from? Because he said to the judge, we already had a nominating committee in place, and we don't know of any nominating committee. And when was this nominating committee elected? Because the people need to be aware of it before we can continue on, especially addressing the issues of the election of directors. Because she was very specific with that line. When you didn't put the attendees on there, the people have the right to have them 15 days in advance with the actual ballot. She said it can't be changed or admitted to at all. So I'm just going by what the judge read off to him today, because I was sitting there, and I understand what Ann admitted to. So that means actually, because you put election of directors and wasn't more specific, we can't actually even hear who your nominees are.
Okay, and I disagree with you.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Yes.
If you'll check last year's agenda and minutes, you'll see who the nominating committee was. Where is it? Let's stop this argument. Get to last year's minutes. Or the nominating committee.
Well, actually, the nominating committee was
No, the nominating committee was put in place last year, the last year's annual meeting. It should have been there. It should be on the table.
Thank you.
We didn't have anybody on that. I haven't seen it, so I don't know where that might be. Craig
Well,
might know.
then you don't have
But you never
nominating.
asked.
Well,
Okay,
we did.
let me read you what the bylaws say, ladies and gentlemen. The nominating committee shall be appointed by the board at least 30 days prior to the annual meeting of the members to serve from. So, 30 days.
Which was actually done last board meeting, in which Deb Jacobson was the person representing the board. I have the floor, where Deb Jacobson was appointed at that time, and she selected Mr. Joseph Morris to sit on that committee with her, and there was no one else that actually, we asked Joseph to please ask someone else to do it, there was never another person found, I don't know why, but that's who it was. And the people that have been put forth as nominees for the board are people that hopefully everybody knows, or maybe knows some but not all. And so that's what's transpired. Those are the conditions under which we are operating, and it was done at the last board meeting. So in light of this discussion, that you have an option here. You're going to have a ballot, and on that ballot you're going to have names. You can vote yes, and you can vote no. And that's really what we called for when this went out to everybody. It says, we're going to vote on the proposed amendments to the bylaws associated set forth in Exhibit A attached here too, which we will do first. You have them all, you have them, you can read them, you can vote yes or no.
Okay.
And so before I take any questions, it's not going to change the language of the document. It's not going to change anything that we do with the document. You have the right to vote. And that's what I'd like for everyone
That's
to
what
do.
we're not trying to stop you. What we're trying to do is explain, because there are residents here that are saying they want to nominate people. So we're trying to
They
get
may,
you.
Craig, which is what we said, when we get to that point, there will be people from the floor who may be nominated, which Roy has stated on a couple occasions. We're happy to do that. So when that comes around, we will do so. Yes, ma'am.
You said that I didn't get the judge's name, you said it was probably nominated received at that time. You said, I thought I heard you said something about a judge report.
No, they were talking about a judge related to the TRO
Okay.
today, and it not been nominated. And so I saw it. It's good.
Why, Mr. James Nichols, why were the residents not aware of who was to be nominated by a nominating committee? Why were we not aware that Mr. Morris had been nominated for the nominating committee?
I don't know why you weren't
Until
aware.
tonight. Let's change it. This
That's
is
not
not,
true.
this is not what was mailed out to the residents.
It's Chris.
This is
That's
not.
you may have a difference of opinion with me on that, but that's okay. You're welcome. So Joseph, it's okay. We don't need to discuss anymore. We can come around that once we get to that point. But right now, we're going to take a vote. You guys are going to get to review them, and you'll have time to look at them and debate them amongst yourselves and cast your votes. Right. So before I do so, I'd like to acknowledge that we have other board members here. We'll start right over here. Chris Mitchell, who is a board member. Deb Jacobson, who's a member. They certainly are welcome to, of course, if they so desire. Craig Mitchell, Deb Jacobson, Charles Lucenay. And I don't see Henry Parker. I don't see him here. So, yeah, you, of course, well, you can sit wherever you like, actually. No, I don't think so, but you can sit there if you want.
A lot of people don't know who the members are.
Well, they can stand up for a moment and you can see them. Charles Lucenay, Deb Jacobson.
I'm down.
Charles Winston, what's your position, sir? What is your position on the board? What is your position? Director and?
Treasurer?
Okay, Deb Jacobson, what's your position on the board?
Secretary.
I'm Craig Mitchell. I'm vice president already.
Oh, Nordine Yates, yes, sorry.
I'm Nordine Yates, and I'm a director on the board.
Right, and Mr. Parker is not here.
He's in his absentee, and you are whom?
I'm Jim Nichols.
Okay.
Member of the board and president of the board.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so anyway, I think you want to proceed. Okay, is there anything else after introductions?
Are you going to office staff? I don't know if everybody knows the
Well,
office
I think we have one member of the office staff here. We have Katie Godinez. And Deanna Thompson was here earlier, but she had to go to class. So, and I think that you've already had the Butler Haley representatives introduced and done what they need to do. And so now we're going to vote on the proposed amendments that are in Exhibit A. So take some moments to do that. 1 second. Yes, ma'am.
I just have, I'm a little confused here, because you sent us out something, right?
Yes.
And I got something else at the door. So what is it that we're, what paper are we using? What we got in the mail?
I don't know
What
what.
we got in the mail?
Yes.
Or what you gave us when we came in the
I
door?
didn't get, what did I give you at the door? You mean this document
What
that's
is
here
in
on
the
the table?
ballots?
This is all we got is the ballot. Okay, so
Yeah. You have a ballot to go based on what you got.
I still like to know, because I'm still new. I mean, I've been on the property a while, but I'm still trying to understand.
Yes.
And so far, every time I come to the meeting, it's chaos. I'm trying to understand what's going on. I really am just trying to understand what's going on.
Of course.
I don't know these people.
Okay.
I've been coming to meetings
Sure.
quite a bit, but I just don't understand how we didn't know who's running. I mean, I think you usually ask, tell me something about you. Are you in, or do you live there? Because for me,
Sure.
I'm having a problem with all these people that don't even live in the community.
Thank you.
To
You know
be
what?
in there, because you need to take ownership.
Sure, I agree.
I just believe you need to take ownership.
I agree.
And if you live there, then you understand where. So are these people, do they really own a whole bunch of units and rent them out? Or do they actually live in
Well,
the
I'll tell you
property?
what, can we table that until we get to that, and I'll tell you about all of them. Or I may even have them tell you about that, okay? But let's deal with what's on the agenda item, which is to discuss, Henry Parker has just arrived, Henry Parker is also a board member. And, what we're gonna do on the proposed amendments that are in the bylaws, please take some time to do it, I'm not gonna have any more discussion about it. You guys can read them and decide if you vote yes or no, and then we'll come back and talk.
My name is Minister Jeremiah, Pleasant Grove Missionary Baptist Church. I'm a pastor, and I'm here to see what's going on because I have so many calls. I want to make sure everything's going right because I know we're going to get justice tonight for that young guy.
Your votes to seal the building.
One other point of clarification, you have to sign it. You have to sign your ballot, please, in order for it to be valid. And so that's required by law, yes.
My name is Judy Schilling, and I would like to know why we have to sign a ballot when we have signed in to get a ballot.
It's the law, Judy. I don't know
Why
what to
is
tell
it?
you about it.
I don't do that to the federal
Well,
government.
I'm so sorry, but the state of Texas said you have to sign it. So if you don't want to sign it, don't sign it here. But I'm not forcing you to sign
I don't want any of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention real quick. There's been asked why it is that you have to sign your ballot. And the reason you have to sign your ballot is because the statute requires it. Section 209.0058A provides any vote cast in an election or vote by a member of a property owners association must be in writing and signed by the member. That's in the Texas Property Code. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question now. If I don't want any of the people that are nominated to serve on the board, can I vote with the rest of my ballot on the amendments? And
Absolutely. Just turn in the ballot right now for the amendments to the ballot. That's all you're turning in right now. The only ballot that's being turned in right now are for the amendments to the ballot. That's it.
the amendment?
The amendment to the bylaw.
So that's the only piece you want?
That's it.
Will we be able to verify the registry, your registry?
Yes, we will make sure that council looks at the registry and those things and make sure that it's valid.
Because you know we never received ballots.
That's just Texas law.
I read that, and it doesn't have to be seen. Go into registry. Excuse me. We came in to go into registry. We signed in, and we were given a number with our number of votes on it. This is what got you in. Am I held them up. We didn't have to do a secret ballot because then we knew who was voting. You see what I'm saying? And how many votes one person had. See, now with the secret ballot, we don't know who has how many votes or what it, we don't see any other investors in here besides you and Charles. So we know that 99 of those votes are you and Charles in those proxies right
It
there.
might very well be, I don't know what the count is.
But it's supposed to be one proxy per occupant. You can't occupy 99 different residences. So which one will you use?
That's not, right, this, we're not gonna have a legal debate.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
is that what you like? That's not
Thank
true.
you.
It's been a tenets of who signed in, that's, it was clarified for me, therefore I'm clarifying it. And so that's all I'm telling you. It's just, that's who's in it. Because again, it's a homeowners association, this is an annual meeting. If you're an owner, you get to cast a vote, yes or no?
Yes, but how, when you, so you're saying, so I'm asking you to reiterate on camera then, what your statement was, because you said for everybody, and this is a vote unanimous for everybody in attendance. is what you said.
Everybody that's in attendance by signing into the sign-in sheet tonight.
Nice, I like that. Thank you. I think that's good.
So there we go. And whatever that is, but it was the majority said yay and the minority said no.
We're clear with that now, President. Thank you. We're very clear with that now.
My brother, I had told him. He said that it wasn't him. I know, but I know it wasn't my brother. I know. But he was like, it wasn't him.
I don't even necessarily want to go into all the reasons why he was being removed, but one of the reasons he was being removed was because he took board matters outside the board, into not just in the community, which is fine, we would discuss matters of the board. They actually went out of the state. And I believe that I actually received a relatively threatening email from someone associated with Chris from Chicago.
But I received the same email, but it was in retaliation of you seeking the seals on him. This is what they told me. Because I got the president and the vice president got the letter. It was not a threatening letter. It was a letter saying that if you continue to put them on him, they're going to bring down protection for him at these meetings.
That's not exactly what they said.
But no, that's exactly what was said here because I have the email.
So make your decision, right? You can
I have the email.
Good for you.
But just don't tell the people a lie. Thank you. Thank you.
So is this not a personal issue?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Nichols, James Nichols, please tell them what happened at the meeting when you had 6 SEAL security officers surround me to remove me from a meeting because I spoke in opposition to you.
Thank you.
You can make any statement you want, Chris. I'm not gonna answer
You
your
brought it up. You put it on the ballot. The people have a right to know. They have a right to know. You only told half of it.
It's a board matter, Chris.
That's a personal issue.
Yes, it is.
So my question is, are you going to use your 99 votes to remove him today? Because I still don't see 100% value. Thank you.
Before they go, speak your piece.
Living at least 2 years. See, that's what they're telling me. Say, well, we buy it. Where you live at. If they if you buy it, you tell them. People like this. See, that's her. That's her.
They got to have a this can be
Yes. Yes.
The whole board?
Board that voted at the last meeting.
What was the whole, what board members are she's asking specifics?
The ones that didn't walk out, those board members.
So it's
So
just
you have a board,
We did.
and 5 of you voted no.
4 did.
What, we have a 9-member board.
Board member, you
No, we
can't.
don't. Guys, we're not gonna discuss it. You can bring that up in a writing and we can address it legally.
How long has she